Trust. Trust is a difficult one. And when we lose trust, it's very challenging to get that trust back. And the trust that I'm speaking to is the trust that we want to have with others, for others. It's the yearning to want to be close to someone else, to allow someone to see us, to trust them enough to let them into our world, into the intimate world that is us, into the parts of our own selves that we're not even familiar with. But what does trust really represent? It represents safety. It's this notion that if I give myself to this person, if I show myself who I really am, do I trust them enough to hold that without judgment, with compassion, to keep me safe, to hold my heart? What happens when we don't trust? What happens when we are unable to trust and give ourselves to others, to show ourselves, to demonstrate who we are? We become hardened. Now, I'm all for resilience. I'm all for mental and emotional strength. But when we are hardened from the inside out because we feel unsafe, we project that into the world and onto our relationships. Every relationship we have becomes tainted with this, you're unsafe. I can't quite trust you. Therefore, I'm going to withdraw as much of me as possible that helps me feel safe. I'll speak less, I'll do less, I'll show less. I won't give you the fullness of me. And what happens is when we don't trust, when we feel unsafe with others and even with our own selves, with our own mindscape, we shut down to our own emotions, our own heart, our own soul's expression in the world, we very much lose the quality of that relationship. Often we mistrust because we've been hurt so many times before. We've been in pain. We've experienced people hurting us, people projecting upon us, people shaming us. Often we make that mean that it's our fault. We're responsible for that. We are to even blame for that, and so we shut down more and we armor up our hearts. And the spark that is our soul's divinity cannot be expressed fully through this physical vessel because we are so scared. We're in fear, and sometimes we don't even know it. We are not even aware that we are in fear. But it holds us back in relationship. People want more from us. Why do people want more? People want more because when they see more, they feel safe for themselves. If they feel you or intuit you to be holding back, they hold back. And you've got two people consciously wanting to be in relationship. The conscious mind makes up a few % of our expansion into the world, our consciousness or awareness into the world. The rest is the unconscious self. But you've got these unconscious forces pulling the relationship apart because of unchecked fear. Maybe when you were younger, you exposed yourself and you were ridiculed, maybe humiliated. Maybe you even expressed love, care, and adoration for someone close to you, and that was rejected. Maybe you were left at a very young age and you were abandoned. And you made that mean that you're not enough. You made that mean that being close to people is unsafe, and therefore you have to hold back. And so we begin to trust others by firstly coming into ourselves and trusting ourselves, understanding who we are, knowing ourselves, feeling ourselves in the world, allowing ourselves to feel those dense emotions that maybe haven't been felt for a very, very long time, and becoming acquainted with those parts of ourselves that are maybe a little dark, that we've been running from or hiding from. Because if we can't trust who we are, how can we trust others? How can we give our hearts to others, or at least parts of ourselves to others? Surrounding ourselves with people that are safe, that are consistent in their behavior. So we must show up consistently in our own behavior for ourselves. When we are consistent in who we are, in how we show up, in how we think and feel, and of course you're allowed variance, but it's this consistency that promotes reliability. trustworthiness. And there we can look for it in others, or we can see this consistent behavior in others. We can search for it. We can say, oh, that person is showing up similarly every day. Maybe I can trust them. Maybe I can share a little bit of myself with them. That's encouraging. And that is also uplifting. Now the soul within the self begins to free up a little bit. But what is the soul? What is spiritual? What is spirituality? Now, there are many ways to go down this rabbit hole. But for me, in its simplest form, spirituality is connectedness. And this animated being that is us wants to connect with other individuated sparks of expression or sparks of consciousness coming sourced from the same pool of consciousness. And we do that by giving ourselves a little bit, by exposing ourselves. Now, we run the risk when we expose ourselves of being hurt, being rejected, of being abandoned, of being humiliated, of being in pain. Now, that's a part of this dualistic world that we live in. However, when we cultivate self-confidence, belief in self, when we back who we are, when we really feel who we are at a deep level, we do develop the tolerance and the resilience to, quote unquote, be rejected. That's a conversation for another time. Does rejection even exist? Because if people are making decisions based on their own unconscious occurrences and beliefs and the experiences that they've had, well, is it really you that they are rejecting? Or a part of themselves they haven't come to peace with? And again, that's a conversation for another time. But surrounding yourself with people that are consistent allows your soul, your heart's expression to open up. The armor, it gets chipped away from the heart. And by doing so, we give a part of ourselves. But in giving a part of ourselves, guess what happens? We are reflected back that part of ourselves. But when we hide that, we never see it. But when we expose it, give it, share it with the world, it is reflected back to us, and then we grow. Then the cycle of growth occurs. And this is the power of being in relationship. This is the power of being in a healthy relationship. One that feeds back to you who you are and who you can be, your potential, and you feel it in a very visceral way. You experience it, you feel it in fullness. But that's only because you've had the courage to give, to share. And that significant, meaningful person in your life can reflect that back to you, whether it's through action, whether it's through non-verbal cues, whether it's through verbiage itself, whether it's through deep reflection. But whatever that is, it's reflected back to you, and you then see yourself through a new perspective as opposed to the mundane or same perspective that you continue to see yourself in, which is generally hiding from the world when we mistrust ourselves and others. So the opportunity is to very slowly, methodically, very slowly, just give a little, share a little, not a lot. Don't flood yourself. That can be too intense, too extreme. Just share a little and breathe. Breathe slowly through your sharing. And ask yourself, where can I trust myself at a deeper level and how? All the answers are within you. You know. You just don't know that you know yet. You don't need an answer outside of you. Ask the question. The quality of the question determines the quality of the experiences we have. You ask that quality question, your heart will open. Your brain will search for a response. It will explore. Power and blessings to you, people. I'll see you soon.